I did not know one single word of English, and I had never seen a man's body.
The play is designed to raise awareness about the issue of human trafficking in the UK, in the world, but specifically there are elements in it that are localized to Northern Ireland.
You have to let your face make smile when the men come.
Can you tell us a bit about the characters that you play?
The character I play is Yelena, who was trafficked at the age of 17. She's now in her mid-20s. And Yelena has become like the madam of the house. She's become complicit with the traffickers. She's a victim herself, and in order to keep herself safe, she has become a henchwoman for the traffickers. So she's the one who makes sure that the girls are kept in line in the house. She's the one who has freedom of movement and the one who is trusted.
I play the character of Monica. She's been very, very recently trafficked into Northern Ireland. Very young character, probably comes from a rural community, high chance that she's illiterate, maybe doesn't have a birth certificate, and no concept of what really has happened to her. And throughout the play, I'm in shock. I'm unable to deal with the reality of what's happening to me, and under complete control of Yelena.
Can you tell us a bit about this play, what you thought about it?
Well, I thought it addressed issues of what do you do as somebody who's concerned. You know, I think police, for some people, is not the way to go. But if we know that women's aid are in this as well, and then the human trafficking itself, you can contact them directly. For me, even if I do suspect something, I was always afraid of maybe what the police going to say, because there's intimidation there maybe from the police. So I think it's nice to know, or it's a relief maybe to know that you can go to Women's Aid and other agencies and they can do that on your behalf.
Human trafficking is really hard to assess exactly how big of a problem it is, just because it's so underground. But in the last year, 45 people were rescued. That's up from the year before by quite a high percent, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's more trafficking. It might mean that people are more aware. It's just really hard to get exact figures for. But I'd say as a small island, because its connection to both the Europe through Ireland and the UK, it's more of a transit port town as well as a destination. So it's utilised a lot for human trafficking. Whether there's that much going on right here is hard to tell, but I wouldn't say it's any more or less than anywhere else, and we especially shouldn't take more people being rescued as an indication that it's thriving at all. The more we're aware, really, the less it will happen, because it will become people will be more fearful to kind of participate in it over here.
Generally, what this workshop does is it raises some of the basic questions about human trafficking. What is it? And we have an opportunity to explain to them the definition of human trafficking, the EU-wide legalized definition of human trafficking. The other things that are asked are about the relationships between people, or relationships between people in communities. What am I going to do if there's something that I don't understand that's happening in my community? So all of these things come up, and some of the questions that are raised have to do with how women treat each other, and what ways in which women are oppressed globally as well as locally.
The play here today focuses on sexual exploitation, but there's far more forms of human trafficking than that. Would you care to explain?
So there's obviously sex trafficking that we're talking about, and that's important, but forced labour, that's a massive one. Over here, out of the 45 people who were rescued last year, 32 of them, I think, were forced labour, which is obviously a high percentage. It might not necessarily represent what's actually occurring over here, but there's forced labour, there's organ harvesting, there's benefit fraud. There are a lot of people who are trafficked over here and then used for that. There is domestic servitude as well. So it's kind of, we associate trafficking with sex trafficking, but that is not necessarily the case. Forced labour is a massive one as well that we need to focus on.
Well, I come from Portadown today, and I know that there's been incidents that have been reported in the local newspaper, the Portadown Times, that people have been rescued from human trafficking, and there was 2 cases in my street of suspected human trafficking, so the neighbors were rattling around and saying there's something suspicious about that house. They did bring the police, so I think I did have some insight into what human trafficking is, but it's just maybe what would I do as an individual if I maybe was suspicious and those maybe issues were dealt with today. And just to know that behind that door, behind those curtains, it's somebody who's suffering, somebody who's got family, and for me as a migrant myself, you know, it could be anybody.
For someone watching this who may be suspicious that some illegal activities going about in their area concerned with human trafficking, what advice would you give to them?
If you can kind of spot the signs available on the No More Traffic website, if you just read through them and see what you think is applicable to them, and you call the police if you don't want to remain anonymous. If you do, call Crime Stoppers, and if you really don't want to go to the police that way, you can go to No More Traffic, Women's Aid, Migrant Help, and kind of tell them the signs and they can go to the police for you. But just most importantly, tell someone. Don't try and get involved too much yourself unless you're speaking to the person, then you can kind of divulge a bit more information. But yeah, definitely just tell whoever you can.